Hi, everybody. This is Sandy Smith-Leva, and I'm delighted to bring you another episode of Brain Food for Accounting Leaders. Today, we talk about the positivity ratio, and it's actually called several different things. It's also called the Gottman ratio and the Losada line. We'll talk about that later. And this is going to help you move from negative interactions to having more positive interactions. And there's actually some math that defines what people thrive and what people are, less than thriving, which is kind of a recipe for depression. So that's what this ratio does, and it's really based all on relationships. So what the first step is to break down your interactions that you have with people into little bits and bytes of what's positive and what's negative that you experience with a person. So for example, on the positive side, we're going to have compliments that people give, expressed love, favors, gratitude. Those are the kinds of things that are on the positive side. I'm sure you can think of hundreds more examples. On the negative side, criticisms, expressions of anger, expressions of fear, expressions of jealousy. Those are the kind of negative things that we can have with another person. So if we, which I know we're not going to do, but actually some of the scientists have done, if we break down our day into all these hundreds and hundreds of interactions and rank them as positive or negative, we can actually do the math and come up with a ratio of what the number of positive interactions divided by the number of negative interactions are. So there's actually science around what makes a healthy ratio. And if you guys remember, we talked about asymmetry of emotions. Our negative emotions are exaggerated due to caveman days so that we could survive. So that's covered in the Bear or the Boss week, if you want to go back and look at that. So what would you guys guess? The ratios, there's 3 different ratios to focus on. One for relationships at work, one for couples, like your significant other, and then one for teams at work, where you're doing, you're working with that person on a more intense level on a daily basis instead of just saying hi, and just needing something maybe once a week from another person. All right, so those are the 3 ratios. If you want, you could actually stop the video and guess at this. And then there's actually a ratio where the math falls apart that you can actually have so many positive so many positive interactions compared to negative that people don't think you're sincere anymore. So, all right, so here they are. Here's the answers. For relationships at work, you need at least 3 positive interactions for every 1 negative interaction to counteract that asymmetry that we have in our emotions. And that research has been done by Barbara Fredrickson. If you want to look up, she's got a pretty cool book called Positivity that if you're really into this, you could benefit from potentially. For couples, John Gottman is a genius that discovered this. He can actually predict the success of a marriage by something like 93%. By just watching and observing couples to see whether they honor this relationship or not, this ratio. So for couples, you need a very high ratio, 6 positive interactions for every 1 negative interaction. If you're down at the 1-to-1 level, you're headed for divorce. Even if you're at the 2 or lower, you're a little bit headed for divorce. So, and obviously if it's flipped, you're in serious problems. You need to get out. All right, so for teams, then, you're very close to what you need for a couple. You need a ratio of 5 positive interactions for every 1 negative interaction. That work is done by a guy in South America called Marcial Losada. And oops, I didn't put it. I'll have to add it. The math falls apart at 11-to-1. So if you have so many positive interactions compared to negative interactions, you end up being too sugar sweet like a Pollyanna, and people do not believe you. All right, so what you want to do, pretty easy, right? You want to get your ratios up. You want to focus on delivering and receiving far more positive interactions throughout the day than negative. All right? I hope this is helpful for you and your relationships and your success at work. See you next week.